verses 18 to 20. Vaya'an hamelech, vayomer el ha'isha. The king answered and said to the woman. Vaya'an is, of course, from ana, imperfect ya'anne, and because it's third hey, when it goes into the vayiktol, in the third person, he answered, she answered, we have this apocopation, cutting off of the final vowel and the hey at the end. So the king answered and said to the woman, Al na tachachadi mimeni davar. Al na, do not. Tachachadi is a pial. You can see from the shava underneath the prefix. Kiched is to hide. So you will hide, you feminine will hide, but with al, do not hide, mimeni, from me, davar, do not hide a word from me, or do not hide anything from me, asher anochi shoel otach, which I am asking participle you. So I presume that there is an implicit alav about it. Do not hide from me anything about which I am asking you. You can use a participle, like here, shoel, for an imminent action. So, and it's called, rather unsurprisingly, the participle of imminent action. So here we could translate, do not hide from me anything about which I am about to ask you. Vatomer ha'isha yodaber na adoni hamelech. The woman said, may my lord the king speak, or let my lord the king speak. A jussive use of the imperfect here. Speak on, my lord, as it were. The tsere has become a segol because of the makef. So yudaber, standing by itself, would be a tsere, 2 dots. But when the word is joined with a makef to the na, the main stress on yudaber is moved over onto na, and so so we would have a long vowel, a tsere is always a long vowel, in a closed unaccented syllable, and so that has been resolved by changing the tsere to a segol. Vayomer hamelech. So the king asks, he now gets down to business. The king asked, Hayad Joab itach b'chol zot. Is a question indicator, ha plus chatef patach, and no doubling of the next letter. That distinguishes it from the definite article. Hayad would be the hand, but hayad is question indicator, is the hand of Joab, itach, with you, b'chol zot, in all of this, in this whole business. Vata'an ha'isha vatomer. The woman answered and said. And here we get to another slightly tricky run of text, so we'll slow down a bit here. Chei nafshecha adoni hamelech. As your soul lives, my lord the king, or O lord the king. Remember, there are 2 expressions, Chai Adonai, as the Lord lives, where you have a patach yod, Chai. But if you're talking about the Lord, as the Lord lives, you use Chai Adonai. But if you are talking about, if you're using the idiom as you live, or as your soul lives, then we don't use a patach, we use a tsere. Chei nafshecha. As you live, surely as you live, my lord the king. Im ish lehimin ulahasmil mekol asher diber Adoni Hamelech. Im, as I explained, I think in verse 11, just wondering if there's an easy way I can check that. No, I think in verse 11 we've already spoken about Im. So Chai Adonai, yes, there we are. So in verse 11 we have Chai Adonai Im Yipol Misa'arat B'nei Arza. So do look back at verse 11 for the explanation there of Im, which is used with negative oaths. So we've already started our oath, as you live, O Lord the King, and now we're expecting a negative oath because of this Im. But we'll have to leave that to the side for the moment. Ish looks like the word for man, but is actually the word yesh in disguise. Opinions differ as to whether ish is just a variant form of yesh or whether it's a scribal error. Either way, it amounts to the same thing. It is basically yesh. In fact, in Aramaic, the regular word for the regular equivalent of yesh is eth, with an aleph at the beginning. So it's not surprising here particularly to see the aleph. It's just unusual. We've not come across it before. But it means yesh. Now, I've got here a page from the Sassoon Codex, 10th century whole Bible manuscript. And if we zoom right in on Chai nafshecha Adoni Hamelech, as you live, my Lord the King, Im ish, there's our ish, and you can see there's a little chupchik above here, and that refers to this note here. Gimel, S, B, Yod, and then that Reish is hidden in the margin. And that is the word sevir, or sevirin. It's normally in the plural. So there are three occurrences. Sevirin means where you might expect. So, and then you can see the word yesh again partially concealed here, but if I zoom in you can see it a bit more clearly. So the Masoret here is noting when you get to the word ish, there are three occurrences of this word where you might expect the word yesh. But the implicit message of this note is, don't be fooled, don't write yesh because you think, oh, it must be yesh. There are three occurrences where it appears with an aleph, but you might expect it to be a yod for yesh, but don't be deceived. Okay, so this is just yesh, basically. We're going to have to come back to how that's working in the sentence in a minute. I did say that this is all a bit tricky, this bit. Lehemin is from the word yamin, which we know is right or right hand. And lehasmil is from the word left, smol, smol. We're used to seeing an aleph between that mem and that lamed. But nonetheless, it's still recognizably the word small. So here we have a hifil verb, which I can tell by the hey at the beginning and the yod between the second and the third consonants. Lehemin means to turn to the right, and lehasmil means to turn to the left. So they've taken the words for right and left and that turned them into hifil verbs, meaning to turn to the right or to turn to the left. Okay, now, if you have yesh plus le plus an infinitive, these are both infinitives construct. So yesh plus le plus an infinitive construct can have the idea of, is it possible? Is something possible? Or a sense of obligation, one ought to. So yesh lehemin could mean it is obligatory, one ought to turn to the right, or it can mean, is it possible to turn to the right? Okay, so that's the structure of yesh plus le plus infinitive construct. Is it possible to do X, Y, or Z? When we combine that with our negative oath, we end up with, it is certainly not possible to turn to the right or to turn to the left. So, putting it all together, as you live, or as your soul lives, my lord the king, one certainly cannot turn to the right or to the left from anything which my lord the king has spoken. It's not possible, it's absolutely not possible to turn to the right or to the left from anything which my lord the king has said. Or in our everyday speech, bullseye, you've got me. Key, so she's saying, you're spot on, absolutely right. She's fessing up, as it were. Your servant Joab, who Tzivani, your servant Joab, and then this who is superfluous, grammatically speaking, but it's very much for emphasis. It was your servant Joab, he commanded me. Your servant Joab, he commanded me. Tzivani is tzivah, which is the pial to command, plus the object suffix me. He commanded me. Vahu, another emphatic use of the personal pronoun. He sam b'fi shifchatcha. He put into the mouth of your maidservant et kol hadavarim ha'ele, all of these words. So the king says, is Joab with you? Is the hand of Joab with you in all of this? And she says, goodness me, it's absolutely impossible. One certainly cannot turn to the right or the left from anything which my lord the king has spoken. For your servant Joab, he did indeed command me, and he put in the mouth of your maidservant all these words. Why? Leva'avur, in order to, sabev et pnei hadavar, asa avdacha Yoav et hadavar hazeh. In order, sabev is an infinitive construct of the pial of the root sabab. Sabab, to turn. So sabev is to turn something. In the pial, it's transitive, to turn something. To turn, here's the object, the face of the matter. Now I've seen this understood in two different ways. To turn the face of the matter, in other words, to hide the reality of what's going on. In other words, to come up with this ruse, this elaborate ruse to try and get the Lord to bring Absalom back. So in effect, to disguise what's really going on. Or, and I think more plausibly, to turn the face of the matter in the sense of to change the course of events. So I'm just scrolling down here now. So to change the face of the matter is JPS. So that leaves both options on the table. In order to change the course of things is what the ESV goes for. So they're opting for the second alternative. To change the course of things. I think if I had to plump for one or the other, I would go for that option. So it was in order to change the course of the matter that your servant Joab did this thing. Vadoni chacham, and then she finishes with a bit of flattery. And my Lord is wise, kechochmat malach ha-Elohim, a three-word construct chain, wise like the wisdom of an angel of God. In what way? This is another case where we have a la da'at, an infinitive construct with a la, being used apexegetically or in an explanatory way. In what way is my Lord wise like the wisdom of the angel of God? In knowing et kol asher ba'aretz, in knowing everything which is in the land. He knows everything that's going on.